The Royal Belum State Park is a protected area in North Perak. The park protects all of its inhabitants, except it seems for the people who live there.
Dekat sini ada tahun lepas yang meninggal?
5, 6, 7, 8, 9 juga kat tempat tu.
Tapi banyak, kanak-kanak banyak, apa dia dewasa banyak juga orang meninggal tu.
Cucu saya situ meninggal satu. Ini ayah dia ada.
Every family seems to have a story of child dying. We're looking at 30 to 50% child mortality.
We visited the park twice, spending a total of 7 days with the Orang Asli community in Sungai Kejar, one of the Orang Asli settlements within park boundaries. Here's the story we found.
This is the grave of young Malini who passed away yesterday morning. The Royal Belum State Park markets the Orang Asli as a tourist attraction. Posters are visible, offering visitors a glimpse of Malaysia's indigenous people as well as their lives. But if visitors were to spend time with these people, they would hear a cry for help. We are here at along the Tasik Temenggong, and the last time we were here, we found a very high mortality rate in the Sungai Kejar area, which is where we are headed now. So the idea is to see if this is in fact the case, and if so, why. Sungai Kejar is a river within the Royal Belum State Park, where an Orang Asli community lives along its banks. From the Temenggong Lake, which is the entry point to the park, it takes an hour by boat to reach Sungai Kejar. Just before arriving in Sungai Kejar, we came across a new settlement. Speaking to its residents, we learned that they had moved here a year ago to escape from Sungai Kejar.
Cucu saya situ meninggal satu. Ini ayah dia ada. Situ banyak perkara situ. Sebab apa saya ubah ni buat satu ladang ni. Satu kampung. Kalau saya duduk lagi situ habislah.
These Orang Asli are from the nomadic Jahai tribe. When a death occurs in the family, it is not uncommon for them to move to a new settlement a short distance away. But Encik Salah and his family left Sungai Kejar entirely, almost as if it was a cursed land.
Dulu sampai hingga masa ni.
We left Encik Salah's village and continued upstream. 20 minutes later, we arrived at Sungai Kejar. At the first settlement we encounter, we already hear of death.
Dekat sini ada tahun lepas yang meninggal?
Dua lah. Sungai tepas tu. Oh, 2 apa 4 dah situ. 4 apa 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 juga kat tempat tu.
Ini sejak bila? Tahun lepas ke tahun
lepas? Tahun lepas.
2014.
2014.
For a population of less than 300, with only 20 live births recorded between 2013 and 2015, these mortality rates are shocking. We visited every settlement along Sungai Kejar, speaking to locals at every village. Almost everyone we spoke to related similar stories.
Lepas tu dia meninggal tahun, saya punya anak tahun 2015, umur dia 15 tahun. Besar sebab apa ni, Serawan, penyakit Serawan tadi dia dah hingga berhawat dah ada dah.
Most of them talk of a mysterious sickness they refer to as Serawan.
Dia ni yang kena apa ni Serawan ni, kadang dia satu hari tu tak boleh nak bawa. Itu kita risau. Sebab apa? Kalau dan kita bawa ke hospital sana, dia tengah-tengah meninggal terus.
Access to emergency services is poor. It takes an hour to reach the jetty by boat and another hour to reach the hospital by ambulance or by a rented car. Encik Bain counts off the number of neighbours whose lives have been claimed by this disease.
Yang itu saya cakap tadi tu, situ berapa dalam 7 orang. Dekat sana ada yang kanak-kanak ada 5. Lepas tu saya punya isteri pak mentua pun meninggal atas sana. Dalam cucu dia 1, yang hak kanak-kanak itu 5. Dekat sebelah sana semua kanak. Dekat sana semua kanak-kanak. Tapi banyak kanak-kanak banyak, apa ni dewasa banyak juga orang meninggal tu.
We did not encounter anyone with the symptoms of Serawan during our trip. We only have a photo from a previous research trip At the time, this baby was around a month old. Professor Kamal has conducted research with almost all the Orang Asli settlements in the Belum Temenggong area. He compares the community in Sungai Kejar with the communities outside park boundaries.
In other parts of Belum Temenggong, if you go down to Temenggong, you don't hear these stories. But when I was in Kejar the last time, about a month or so ago, we talked about children and mortality. So every family seems to have a story of child dying, either at an infant age, below, and I'm using the term broadly, 4 and below, or at a slightly older age in their early teens. But children are dying. Roughly in that 3 or 4 settlements that I visited, I think it covers about 20-30 families. We're looking at 30 to 50% child mortality.
Tu semua semak dah tu. Sini start semua kubur lah tu. Anak saya lima orang jalan terus. Ni Serawan juga lah.
Child deaths are so common here that Encik Bain quite calmly told us that a girl had just died at a neighbouring village the morning before.
Pagi tadi pun orang cakap meninggal dah.
Oi. Turns out somebody has passed today. A child. We're gonna go check it out.
Pagi.
Tak Zia ya, kami dengar ada yang sesiapa meninggal hari ini.
Dia punya anak.
Oh. Boleh sembang sikit je.
Siapa?
Kenapa dia sakit ya?
Saya pun tak tahu lah cik. Dia sakit dari dulu dia sakit. Saya tengok keadaan dia, kira dia sakit. Saya pun tak tahu lah.
Encik Latif, the father, was distraught, first blaming Serawan for his daughter's death, then blaming it on black magic cast by jealous neighbours. We spoke to the grandfather to try and find clarity.
Serawan memang Serawan, saya tak jampi. Saya tak tahu. Sini sedih. Cucu saya sedih. Macam mana nak buat? Nak buat apa? Penyakit macam tu, saya minta maaf lah. Minta maaf lah.
The girl was 8 years old. Her name was Malini. We're leaving Encik Kurup's house right now. We were not able to see the child confirm the cause of death because they essentially didn't permit us, and we wanted to respect their superstitions and their practices. The next day, we visited Encik Kurup again. He led us on a 15-minute trek through the forest behind his village to his granddaughter's burial site. Boleh turun, Cik? This is the site of the grave of young Malini who passed away yesterday morning at 6 in the morning. The family came here to this site to dig up the grave, to bury the child, as well as build this fort. The fort acts to keep praying animals away from the body. A ritual is practiced by the locals whereby they light a fire every day around noon for 3 days consecutively. Malini's shoes are laid with her inside the burial hut. 2 small pairs, a reminder of just how young she was.
Saya sayang cucu saya sayang. Apa nak tinggal, nak buang dia, cucu saya. Serawan tak datang, tak hilang dia. Semua sihat. Macam tu.
The Perak State Parks Corporation is the agency that manages the park. We asked if they knew anything about the high mortality rates in Sungai Kejar.
Pada segi kematian yang melibatkan orang asli, pihak Perbadangan Taman Negeri tidak menerima apa-apa makluman atau laporan daripada masyarakat tersebut. Seperti yang saya sedia maklum, laporan tersebut dikeluarkan sendiri oleh JAKWA ataupun Jabatan Kesihatan.
The park also insists that it is not directly responsible for the welfare of the orang asli within its boundaries.
Kita selaku tuan rumah, sebagai tuan rumah dekat Taman Negeri Royal Belum tu, kita ambil kiralah apa benda kecemasan yang berlaku, tetapi secara langsungnya untuk sebarang kecemasan yang berlaku, memang masyarakat orang asli direct bawah Jabatan Kemajuan Orang Asli sendiri.
Nak tanya Encik Razali, pernah tak dengar penyakit Serawan?
Serawan, saya tak pernah dengar penyakit serawan tu.
Tapi kami diberitahu bahawa ramai yang meninggal sebab penyakit ini, terutama ni kanak-kanak. Adakah ini benar?
Saya tak boleh nak bagi sebab benda tu data tu ada di kesihatan. Saya rasa kesihatan boleh buat clearance atas tu.
When pressed further, he dismissed the claims of child deaths.
Saya rasa tak benar sebab statistik yang kita ada tidak menunjukkan tak ada seorang pun orang kejar yang meninggal.
The district health department had slightly different statistics, but their response was similar.
Sejak 2013 hingga sekarang, for the under 5 tu tak ada dalam rekod kita lah, under 5 mortality. However, for the adult kematian, 2015 ada satu kes dan 2014 tak ada yang direkodkan lah. Actually, serawan is bahasa tempatan lah. Kita panggil ulcer lah. Ulcer di dalam mulut kan.
However, when we showed Dr. Asma the photo of the symptom, she and her team concluded that it was oral thrush, a fungal infection of the mouth. Oral thrush usually manifests in patients with low immunity or malnutrition. Doctors we have spoken to say that detailed tests are needed to ascertain the root cause of the symptom. We told Dr. Asma that according to oral accounts, up to 15 orang asli died last year.
I believe ada yang under reporting tapi tak setinggi itu. Because orang asli dekat sana, they all dari segi sekolah memang tak sekolah, tak ada kemudahan. So in term of pengiraan tu lah, macam saya kata tadi lah, pengiraan bulan, bilangan kan.
The numbers of children dying of course needs to be verified, but it's difficult in this sense if they are not reporting birth or death. But what we can say at the very least, even if we can't verify the death, is that there is a lack of trust between the community and outside agencies. So the trust issue is two ways. They don't believe the community doesn't believe them. But one is entrusted with responsibility, the other one is not. So when you're a public servant, you're entrusted with responsibility. It's your job to find out. It's not your job to blame them or your job to dismiss them. It's your job to find out whether there's some element of truth to this narration.
Encik Kladi's daughter died earlier this year. Her name is Marida. He produced a death certificate and his daughter's identification card as proof. He had reported his daughter's death, but it does not show in official statistics. He also clearly states that his granddaughter passed away in September last year, a death that is also not recorded. His wife too died a few years earlier, but it is his daughter's death that he still mourns to this day.
Jadi saya rindukan, saya sedih sama dia lah. Kalau orang kata tak puas hati saya lah.
This village has been bothered by a herd of elephants. People are trying to get, trying to hit on anything and everything possible to try and get the elephants to go in the opposite direction.